Featuring prominent industry vendors, moderated by a technology veteran, Solutions Review presents the Expert Roundtable, an in-depth panel discussion focused on solving strategic enterprise challenges.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to this Expert Roundtable on unlocking the power of enterprise GenAI with Forrester and Deluxe. Today we have assembled a powerhouse panel of technology experts from Forrester Research, Impetus, and Deluxe Corporation for a deep dive discussion on ways to employ generative AI in the enterprise. GenAI is rapidly reshaping the enterprise landscape, driving innovation and unlocking new possibilities in every industry. Organizations must navigate a dynamic, complex landscape to ensure their GenAI solutions are more than an experiment and deliver valuable business insights, operational excellence, and engaging customer experiences. To drive this conversation, we have invited software industry veteran Jeff Vise. Jeff is the CMO of Impetus and brings over 25 years of hands-on enterprise software experience in marketing, strategy, sales, and partnering. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Doug, and thank you to our audience. This session we're doing today, which focuses on strategic trends that are happening today, specifically in the enterprise GenAI space. It's brought to you by Forrester and Impetus. You're going to hear from an amazing group of technologists that are going to be talking about both the state of the art of the technology and how it's being used in the real world. And that brings me to our esteemed panel that we have today. I will let them introduce themselves, and Mike, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Mike Gualtieri, VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester. So I cover very specifically enterprise AI. And what that means at Forrester is I cover AI infrastructure. So that's sort of the hardware and cloud services needed to run AI workloads. I cover AI platforms, which are sort of the software to the entire lifecycle for the solution. And also the newest GenAI foundation models as well.
Well, thank you, Mike, and welcome, and glad to have you. Our next panel member comes from a company called Impetus. This is a leading system integrator focused on data analytics, AI, cloud, and really modern data platforms. And our lead data scientist that drives all the initiatives around ML, GenAI, is Dr. Ravi. And Dr. Ravi, could you introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate being here. Thank you, everyone, to all my co-speakers. My full name is Ravi Shankar Vallabhajoshila. I lead the data science practice for Impetus, and we are working with many customers, building solutions across ML, AI, and of course now GenAI with all the foundation models. Involved with also working with all the other teams on kind of building the solutions on the cloud, and a lot of things happening. We're really happy here. I'm based here in New Jersey and look forward to speaking with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravi. We'll hear a lot more from you in just a bit. And then finally, we have a real customer, a real user in the real world that is making this happen. And that's Satish. He's from Deluxe Corporation. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself, what Deluxe does. Satish, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Hey, everyone. This is Satish Balasubramanian. I'm a divisional CTO, data and enterprise architecture at Deluxe Corporation. I'm very happy to be here, hearing out from Forrester on the GenAI trends, what is happening in AI, what's going to happen, and hearing from a service integrator like Impetus on what do they really offer, how do they take the trends, how do they make it as a consumable tidbits for companies like us. I'm here to talk about how do we use both of them and how do we really take GenAI to the practical world. How are our customers, how are our products benefited using GenAI is what I'm here to talk about. Very excited to be in this panel with esteemed people here.
Well, thank you very much. And for those that are not familiar with Deluxe, you're going to hear a little bit more. Deluxe has pretty much touched every person that's listening to this this webcast. So you'll hear more about what they do and why what their business is relevant to you. But as they say, on with the show. And our first speaker is going to be Mike from Forrester. Mike, of course, speaks to dozens of vendors, hundreds of clients around the world. He's been doing data analytics, now Gen AI, for a number of years for Forrester. Has a really, really good viewpoint about what's happening, where people are investing, and what they're experiencing. So over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and I have been at Forrester for 17 years, and Gen AI is extraordinarily hot right now, but so was predictive AI before it. So, but I just wanted to level set first. When we talk about AI at Forrester, we are currently defining it in these three buckets: predictive AI, which is really about making predictions. So you can think of that as more of the traditional ML, like predicting a customer might churn, but it's kind of computer vision too, because a computer vision model, even though it's deep learning, you're predicting what's in that image. And then, of course, Gen AI, brought to the fore by ChatGPT from OpenAI, but now all over the place, including the open source, generating content, generating images, generating video, generating code. We're going to talk a lot more about that. But also now Agentic AI, which is super exciting as well, because that's really about AI that can oversee an entire process, right? Because when you think of generative AI and predictive AI, that's really about an input and getting an output, right? Where agentic AI is sort of overseeing a multi-step process. So that's pretty exciting. But dropping down into generative use cases, this was one of the most popular questions whenever there's a new technology with our clients is, what are the use cases in a particular industry, especially in their industry? Also, what are the horizontal use cases? And what we've found from our clients is that it's across the full spectrum of business processes within an enterprise. ISVs, independent software vendors, are building Gen AI into their applications. So enterprises are always faced with this build versus buy, right? So if we take AI out of the equation just for a second here, and we say, oh, software, we need some new software functionality, right? The enterprise is always faced with, when do I need to build this, right? Because every large enterprise has a software development capability, or can I buy it in an application? So what we're seeing is that decision is getting more complicated, because before, none of their business software vendors really had these capabilities. It was so a lot of enterprises were building. But now they're looking at the roadmaps, or they should look at the roadmaps of all of their business software vendors to see, as they collect use cases, if maybe in the next version of that business software, it's going to include that feature or functionality. So they are going to buy these capabilities, functionality in what they already have. But large enterprises also need to build differentiated applications, either for competitive reasons or because they have an extraordinarily complex environment that's grown through acquisitions, and you simply can't buy that off the shelf. So they're going to build those applications. The good news about this decision is that the decision about doing AI and implementing AI use cases isn't just in data science anymore, but it's also in IT and tech leadership. And they are very good, because they've had to do it, of weighing the pros and cons of building versus buy. So this is a major trend that we're continuing to see as well. So just a couple of factors on the build side, right, is AI infrastructure. And, there's a lot of oversimplification in the market of what it takes to train models, to deploy models, to do inferencing. And one of the things I cover very deeply is AI infrastructure. And, a lot of people are saying, well, I just need some GPUs. But when we look at the different products in the market, we look at a number of factors, right? Vendors always want you to look at these three factors because they happen to be good at them. right? But what about the notion of autonomy, for example, or the efficiency, right? Or the latency of a returning call? If you use ChatGPT, that can be quite jittery. And if this is some sort of customer service application or even in e-commerce applications that generating custom product descriptions. So the point here is that when you're looking for AI infrastructure, it's a lot more than just saying we have NVIDIA GPUs. There's other aspects, and you can see a lot of the capabilities here. And because the innovation is so quick in this market, in the AI market, it's also very important to look at the strategy of the vendor as well. Things like their vision, innovation, roadmap, the partners that they have, et cetera. And finally, we do think at Forrester that AI is transformational. And what does that mean? What do we mean when we say that? Well, you can't experiment anymore. You can experiment, but you can't experiment thinking, I wonder if AI is going to be useful for my enterprise. No, it's going to be useful. You're going to do it. You're going to scale out. You're going to scale the number of use cases. So in addition to perhaps that experimentation to get your feet wet or to add a number of use cases, you actually have to start building for the future of when you're going to roll out these use cases. And and I think we're going to talk a lot about this later, but refactoring your data architecture, understanding your business processes, re-engineering maybe some of those business processes where agentic AI takes over part of them. How is it going to impact the customer experience? And how are you going to comply with the moving target that is regulatory requirements, especially if you do business in different jurisdictions? Jeff, back to you.
Well, thank you. Well, I really set the table for what's going on. It's clearly a dynamic space. We on our side have seen that ourselves, that our clients, it's not a if, it's more of a when and how are we going to use Gen AI. And this is a setup to what Ravi's going to take you through before we talk to our customer from Deluxe about an approach to address how to do Gen AI in these times. Gen AI just seems to have a different velocity and a different approach. And we realized that and created something called Impetus Gen AI Innovation Labs. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Ravi to tell you just a little bit about Impetus and get to talking to about these labs and what they are and how they're different. So over to you, Ravi.
So this is all about helping deliver customer value. And this is through our capabilities and differentiators, which I'll just briefly talk about. From a capabilities point of view, we have broad capabilities in AI, ML, GenAI, and we have been delivering use cases to a lot of global customers, as I just mentioned before, and a growing team of data science folks and with ML and AI, and then GenAI expertise, and now also with deep cloud expertise as well. So combining all of this, in addition to this, there's a broader team of cloud and data engineering and all of those things which Mike talked about. All the data prep, training, and inference has all been enabled through all of those teams. And the data science team is at the core of all of this, enabling all of the GenAI activities. And we have a deep portfolio of also data science IPs and capabilities and accelerators that we have built. So these are enabling us to kind of take things faster to customers and deliver value that way. And as part of that, the differentiators that we have are our experience and in enabling these customers to kind of quickly take any foundational model and adapt it to their use case through either RAG or fine tuning, and also doing the orchestration to LLM ops, and now of course also agents. So agentic AI, just as Mike mentioned, is going to be very, very important. So we're doing lots of things there and building solutions and inference at scale, as was also pointed out. All of these are actually very central to the GenAI experience that the customer has. And if you look at all the capabilities that enterprises are delivering to their end customers, so it's all about using their data and delivering new customer experience. So that is through building expertise on data platforms that they have that enables you to integrate data, contextualize the data, and use that power to kind of drive GenAI. And as opposed to kind of predictive AI, GenAI has also other components such as responsible AI, which Mike talked about. So trusted AI application governance is also critical here. So these are our differentiators, and of course, in addition, also helping our customers build enterprise class analytics as a service. So ultimately, that is a reusable components that are bundled as a service offering that you can actually kind of help them scale quickly as needed, and that enables us to kind of deliver value. Now, if you dig deeper, right, so Impetus has been doing ML and AI for a really long time, maybe over 15 years now, and this spans many areas. And over these years, we've kind of been doing like structured data and then unstructured data and a lot of other things. And this has spanned things like text mining, natural language processing to even like 10 years, 15 years ago, and things like fraud detection and a lot of those. So data analytics modeling is very important, and that all of that kind of led into things like AI and deep learning over the last 5 to 6 years, where we really kind of started doing things with these large deep neural networks and training them and doing transfer learning, all of which is kind of grown into generative AI with large language models. So these are essentially kind of similar to the earlier ones that there were, but because they are trained on web scale data, internet scale data, they have much more sophistication and understanding of the patterns that exist in data, and being able to use these to kind of build GenAI applications, also automating the whole enterprise processes, which is going to also happen through Agentic AI. So that's where we see a lot of capabilities, and Impetus is doing this. But in addition to all of these, if you see on this slide, a lot of other things around data prep, for example, doing the data quality work, doing all the kind of model training, and also other things, for example, with image analytics or voice analytics and ML ops and AI ops. There's a lot of things on this slide, including just marketing analytics and industry analytics and other things. We have end-to-end capability of not only just conceptualizing the solutions, but also building them and scaling them and deploying them in production. So it's a whole process. So that's what I wanted to share on this slide. There's actually growing capabilities in GenAI as well, which you will see. So here you can see, I wanted to give an example of what we're doing based on what we talked about in the last slide. What we are doing at customer. This is another customer, which is United Airlines, where we've been doing a lot of things. I don't want to talk about Deluxe because Deluxe, we have Satish here who will talk more on that. But I wanted to give a glimpse of what we do with other customers as well. So United Airlines is a customer with whom we're working for a long time. In fact, one of the first use cases we did for United Airlines was a sentiment analysis use case, looking at how to kind of understand what customers and passengers are actually experiencing, whether they're having any problems on the flight, and how do you tackle that, how do you react to that. So ingesting all the data, and that was through natural language processing. That was many, many years ago. And since then, we have kind of grown significantly in what we deliver to United. And now what we've also done is help them build a platform for all of their data ingestion and processing and all the use cases that are done at United, including just like your baggage. Like, for example, your baggage, if you get a tag, it's actually logged in the system somewhere that goes through the platform that Impetus has built. And now that is actually being extended to GenAI. So we're doing that as well. And there's a lot of impact in terms of being able to drive customer satisfaction and enabling them to take quick decisions. This is across many things, as you can see on this slide. There's also many use cases in flight, and in fact, 6 use cases have been productionized already, and in this last quarter, and now another 15 to 20 are in pre-prod and going to prod at the end of the year. And this is a large team doing this, and significantly has grown over these years. And some of these examples are some things that you might find interesting, like how do you kind of get notifications if there's a flight delay? This happens through the platform, right? So that gets in the data from all these sources and real-time updates, and that is sent to all the people who are supposed to get in the flight. Similarly, with the contact center, which Mike talked about, how do you convert cryptic data? So there's a lot of data that's in very difficult to understand form for the agents. So it's we use applications to kind of drive all of that through GenAI, and in enabling also the people who are training to take, for example, pilots who are to read up on all the flight documents and things. That 600 pages plus documents. So we actually have way to kind of quickly ingest those documents and have real-time access to answers from them. And other use cases, for example, employee and HR related work, for conversation chatbots, and also customer feedback analysis to generate sentiments, which you talked about. So it's an example and a glimpse of what we do at a customer like United, and there are like this many other Fortune customers that we are working with. So how do we kind of scale this to new customers, right? That's where what we have conceptualized is something called a GenAI Labs development model. So like United Airlines and Deluxe, there are a lot of business needs. So customers want to kind of have a strategic goal, they have a vision, they want to deliver value to their end customers, and there are specific success metrics. And ultimately, it's all about ensuring that the customers are satisfied and they can also onboard new customers. So all of this through kind of what data they have. So as has been said many times, and every enterprise has their crown jewels as part of the data, because that's what they've been kind of collecting many years and decades. And a lot of that data has challenges sometimes because of data quality issues. So a lot of analytics and data prep and all of that that goes into kind of creating the data for training these models. Of course, if you're using a off-the-shelf foundation model or other things, and there are now open source models also, you can do a lot of other things. But if you look at enterprise AI, which Mike has also called predictive AI, it's all about bringing all of this through deep learning, ML, AI. Ultimately, it's all about enabling us to kind of build the whole capabilities under these pillars of data infrastructure, the analytics, and enterprise AI. And infrastructure is again very critical because you need to choose a compute and build all of the orchestration, all of that. Ultimately, it's all constrained by many things. So budget, time, people, availability, talent, and so forth. So to kind of simplify this whole process for enterprises, especially if they're kind of going out to new ideas and exploring. So what we have kind of created is a GenAI Labs initiative, which kind of looks at it from a building blocks perspective. So in this example, we have like 8 building blocks listed, and there will be more that will be coming. But primarily, if you look at customer experience, the end use case may be a chatbot development, or maybe doing various other things. Ultimately, that building block is something Impetus has done a lot of work on, and we have capabilities and reference architectures we can bring to the table. And as part of this, there are 3 labs that I'll talk about. But primarily, the whole concept is to take these building blocks like search, data analysis, or document analysis, and various Gen BI analytics and so forth, to kind of create this capability quickly. And when a short period of time, provide value through the experience, engineering, and expertise that Impetus has. And we have a strong sense of what can be done through all the capabilities that see in the pyramid at the bottom, which is all the things that we do through our rapid development model. Ultimately, that includes prompt engineering and RAG, LLM, ops, and all of the capabilities to build use cases through these building blocks. And an enterprise can use maybe 2, 3, or it'll be difficult to kind of do more of these at the same time, right? So for enterprises, so they would want to choose a few of these to start with. Ultimately, you're delivering the capability to derive superior business outcomes. So what we do here now is to kind of build out these through a reference architecture. So what we have bring to the table is, because of the guided curation, which I talked about in the last slide, through the expertise that we have. So this reference architecture enables us to kind of quickly take a building block and see what all the components that are needed. How do you kind of create this? Could be building all the data pipelines, the embedding pipelines, creating the vector databases and standing them up, and then using orchestration frameworks, and of course also kind of doing the caching, like was pointed out, and also various other things like of course we also have the agentic AI laying on top, and responsible AI. And this is maybe use many LLMs. There's multitude of choices, so we need to go with specific ones for that particular customer based on the platform choices and the architecture decisions. So you see at the top multiple LLMs, and we have the capability to choose from any of these, and we can work with the customer, and also while keeping the cost in consideration. That's another critical aspect, right? So inferencing leads to cost, so there's a lot of things involved in that. So end to end, this is the whole, and also capturing the feedback and using that to improve the models through RLHF, which is reinforcement learning based with human feedback, or with the AI based feedback. So both of those things are something we do. And now for the GenAI Labs, the 3 components. The next slide, if we can, Jeff. we talk about how to kind of do this through three pieces, right? So there are actually one is a strategy lab, and a design lab, and a build lab. So each of these has specific components to it. So in the strategy lab, you're looking at how to kind of do a joint workshop with the customer to understand what their needs are, and work with the stakeholders, both business and technical, to kind of understand and kind of uh, put the pegs in the ground, trying to understand where the goals are and how do you kind of accomplish them, and what we should agree on. And in the design lab, we start kind of putting down the architecture choices and what needs to be done in terms of building out the components, and how do you kind of create the whole architecture to enable us to kind of build out the specific building blocks and use cases. And that building work is done in the build GenAI lab, where it could be like 3 to 5 weeks, where it's a joint engagement working with the customer to kind of completely deliver that scope. And end to end, it's a complex task, going from zero to kind of delivering a solution that's just ready to scale and productionize. And that is enabling us to do the incubation, innovation, and acceleration. And that's what helps us kind of deliver the competitive advantage to the customer. The best way to kind of find out more is to go to our website. We have a link here and also a QR code which you can kind of reach out to. And there's also a link at the bottom to find out how to qualify for the complimentary GenAI lab, because the build lab and there's a cost association with each of them. But for qualified customers, we can make that complimentary, and we'll be happy to talk more on that. So this helps us kind of build out the intelligent enterprise, and we're happy to work with you.
Well, thank you very much, Ravi. Appreciate it. As you can see, while in a world where a lot of SIs just show up and say, we have a sea of services, what do you need us to build? We feel GenAI has this requirement for very compressed, rapid iteration to mitigate risk, to demonstrate value quickly, and to build on the learning that's out there, which seems to be changing on weekly basis. It's a way that a lot of our clients have really, it's resonated with them to be able to say, hey, in less than 6 weeks, I can have a fully working enterprise class system, relatively small amount of investment, and with our own data. That is a kind of an attractive proposition compared to the alternative. But speaking of the real world, speaking of clients that are actually using this, not just advising about it, not just building, I'd like to bring up our next speaker, Satish, heads up the data and enterprise architectural efforts at a company named Deluxe. He'll tell you a little bit about this very cool company that touches probably everyone in North America, and maybe more importantly, has been using enterprise AI in the business today. And so I think we'll have an interesting story to share with us about what they do, how they experienced it, what their learnings are. So over to you, Satish.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I think we heard from Mike on how Forrester sees AI. Where are we going from an AI trend standpoint? And Ravi, I think, articulated how a service integrator like Impetus takes those trends, analyzes the trends, and comes up with the tidbits that organizations could use, be it the labs, be it their overall roadmap, the reference architecture. I think they are the one nuggets that the organization could use. So to bring it home, I'll talk about how organizations like us are looking at the trend, using those reference architecture and GenAI labs to bring real value to our customer. Before that, let's just start with who we are. Like Jeff said, Deluxe is a known brand. It's a trusted brand across US. We are an 109-year-old company. People who have had checks or used checks at any point in their life would have known Deluxe because we are one of the biggest check printers across the states. We have a big history of check manufacturing, but over the last several years, we have also become a trusted payments and data company. So we are we are working towards all the B2B payment space, automating the payables, automating the receivables, being the payment processor, and also helping a lot of FIs and small businesses around the data-driven marketing. So that's what we are. Now, we went through a big business transformation, pivoting ourselves from a check printing manufacturing company to a payments and data company. So if you could go to the next slide, Jeff. So every of these business transformation also needed a technology transformation beneath it. So technology is the product when we talk about payments and data. So we had our own roadmap around what our technology transformation looked like. At the heart of it was all the digital transformation. So we wanted to create the digital first platform, drive digital automation and efficiency. And both of these were possible through use of emerging technologies like data, AI/ML, GenAI, intelligent automation. So with all of these emerging technologies, we improve our operational efficiency, we generate revenue, and also roll out new products. Now, having seen what Deluxe is, the transformation that we are undergoing, both from a business and technology standpoint, we'll move on to the next, where we will talk about how our GenAI journey is. We split our entire AI journey into two broad pillars. One, which is going to give effectiveness to our engineering community. How do we increase productivity for a developer? The second one is how can we accelerate the business value that we drive for our customer? Now, ML was not something new. I think we had been doing predictive machine learning for quite some time now. Our data-driven marketing business had used a lot of data models to identify audience lists, to run a campaign. Our payment business had been using predictive machine learning to match our payments with invoices. We have been doing entity resolution to identify customers. So traditional ML or the predictive ML was always there, but with GenAI, we just pivoted ourselves to say how we will approach the entire AI journey. So these are the two broad categories. The engineering effectiveness is everything that we do from the copilots that are offered by a lot of SaaS offerings, as well as to move towards more agent-driven. So we are already using copilots that runs our developer community. We are also using the Office 365 copilots, which improves our day-to-day operation from email summarization, meeting summarizations, and things like that. But where we want to go next is towards the agent-driven model, which is all having an agent that could help us with quality assurance, agents that could help us with DevOps modernization, agents that could actually help us with each and every stage in our software delivery lifecycle. That's our roadmap from an engineering effectiveness standpoint. When we go to the accelerating our business value or identifying the real business use cases that could be driven by AI, I typically put this 2x2 metrics. This is how we approach it. So what is the usage and what is the business value that we are driving? So is it for an internal usage or an external customer facing product? Is it going to drive operational efficiency, or is it going to generate revenue, or is it going to be a new product that I could launch? So if you see this 2x2 metrics, so there are 4 quadrants. So there are easy wins, which are for the internal customers driving operational efficiency. There are low risk use cases that we could go next, which are for the external customers, direct customers, but driving efficiency. And then there are must-dos, which are for internal, but they are a revenue-generating offerings. At the same time, a more futuristic, which is aspirational, which is for our direct customers, which are going to generate revenue. So our roadmap is actually based on that. What we are doing right now is all focused more on easy wins. So these are the ones where we are improving the sales process, the call center-based use cases that Mike spoke about, where call summarization, having a chatbot to help our call center folks, having an assistant for our operational team, which is the back office team, having assistant for our call center. So all these, which are more bringing in efficiency to our back office, efficiency to our internal employees, are the use cases that we are currently concentrating on. Where we want to go next is all around the low risk and must do. So we are working on customer facing chatbots. We are working on conversational bots that can power our entire call center. We are working on agents which could support our operational and back office, and also multiple insights and intelligence that we could embed into our products, the actual payment products. So those are our next in line. And then we want to go from there to the aspirational ones around digital twins, multiple agents that could support our digital analyst and all of those. So that's how the roadmap looks like. But at the heart of all of those is what Mike mentioned, the responsible AI. So Deluxe has its responsible AI framework, which ensures we are compliant with our customer contracts. We are secured. Everything operates under our Deluxe.Trust, the cybersecurity framework. None of our customer data or the PIA data is passed on to any LLMs. And then we also have a robust AI governance that talks about people scrutinizing it, frameworks ensuring that there are no bias in whatever we do. So all of these are the umbrella under which our entire roadmap works. Moving on to the next slide, I just want to touch base quickly on some of the learnings that we have had as part of this journey that we have had for the last year or so. The entire landscape is evolving. So there is a lot that is happening on the GenAI space. So there needs to be more experimentation. That's the learning. Things are fast evolving. So as an organization, you need to have the culture of being agile, being nimble. And I think Mike touched upon this. So GenAI is not ChatGPT. I think there is a wrong notion that everything is as simple as ChatGPT. There is considerable amount of work that goes behind to make something like a ChatGPT, which is the investment that every organization needs to get ready for. And then the ML resources, I think we need really solid people who can take us through this journey. So you have a vision, you have a roadmap, but you need support of a solid organization like the service integrator, like Impetus, who can help us in implementing some of these things. And then the heart of all of these things is always going to remain on compliance cybersecurity. So there is an increased focus, even internal to our organization, on are we compliant? Are we doing the right thing for our customers? So you always need to question that. So the human in the middle, questioning and making sure that you are always compliant to what we have promised our customer, I think is one of the key aspects that you have to follow.
Thank you very much. Well, that takes us to our roundtable, and this is where I'm going to invite all our speakers to present. And the goal here is to really extract out probably questions and thoughts that are on the mind of our audience. We've gotten a lot of information from different viewpoints, everything from where this industry is trending, innovative approaches to be able to accelerate standing up a GenAI project, and then from a divisional lead that's actually doing it today. So the first thing I want to ask you to kind of open it up is if you had to collectively say to the audience, and let's say the audience is familiar with enterprise AI, but they haven't done their GenAI project. So they're sitting in your shoes, maybe where you were, let's say 2 or 3 months ago, maybe 6 months ago. What thing would you say to do to embrace? It could be a mindset, could be a technology, it could be a starting point. What's the one thing you'd say, do this? And then what's the one thing you'd say, maybe don't do this or do this later? If I just went around the table and opened it up, what understanding different people are going to have different use cases, different technologies. I get it. But you've all kind of seen the movie, experienced the movie. What would be those 2 bits of advice of what to do and embrace and what to either avoid or maybe go a little slower on? And maybe I'll start with Mike.
The one thing I would leave people with, if I could only have one thing, is that using a Gen AI use case doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that was sort of my last point with an A/B test, right? So if you're doing something and I think we're ready for production, I mean, mostly in software, what you do is it's like you test it, and then when you're ready, you put it in production, right? But A/B testing would mean, maybe we're only going to expose this to like 1% of our customers, or 5% of our customers, or even operationally. So you can move forward even if there's some degree of uncertainty. Now, you're only giving me one thing to say, so I can't say, governance or anything like that. But there's a lot more there as well. The one thing not to do is treat AI differently from software, because AI is software, and the value of it is going to manifest itself in software. So don't forget everything you know about software delivery and development when it comes to AI, because all of that still applies.
Appreciate that. Let me kick it over to Satish. Same question to you. You've gone through a number of deployments. You have kind of a roadmap going forward. Generally speaking, what's the one thing you'd say, absolutely do this? Do it 10 times harder than I did it because it's good stuff. And then what's the one thing you'd say, yeah, either avoid this or think twice?
So I think I'm going to say the same answer for both: do it and to not do it. AI, GenAI specifically, is the shiny object. I think every organization, from boardrooms to C-suite, everyone wants to do something in GenAI. What I would say is, don't do it just more like a technical experimentation. You have to do technical experimentation to get things right, especially in the fast evolving world. But I think what you definitely have to do, or you have to think multiple times, is it really driving a value? The value that it's driving could be beneficial to an internal employee. As I said, it could be the effectiveness that it brings in, operational efficiency that it brings in, or it's actually benefiting the end customer from a revenue generation standpoint or the customer experience standpoint. So definitely think multiple times on the value that it's going to drive. Pick a use case, because there are so many that are there, but pick a use case, pick something which is really going to be beneficial for you as an organization, and not just do it because something exists and you just want to show that technically something is possible.
Okay, appreciate that. So even with all the crazy technologies and shiny objects, be more down to where is the business value. Don't let sight of that as you plot your course. Ravi, you deal with a lot of customers. They come to our doorstep sometimes with vast resources, sometimes bare bone. What would be your do this, don't do this answer?
Thank you, Jeff. This is actually a very important question, right? So primarily looking at what customers are coming to us with. So either they have a problem defined or they do not. Most likely it's the other. And if they haven't a problem well defined, then we need to kind of tease out what they are and what the goals are. So towards this, and we kind of work through them through a maturity model kind of assessment, trying to understand. So this would be a good thing to get off the ground first. So that is actually part of the strategy lab that we talked about. But this is not a must, but it is definitely something that will add confidence to the customer to understand where they are and what they need to get to the next stage. And to the second part of what not to do, I think as they're building out these solutions, experimenting and kind of also at the same time kind of evolving their architecture, their infrastructure, their design, and their solution delivery. So they are learning things, and that knowledge, it's good to kind of disseminate and have the overall kind of teams also, increase their know-how of GenAI, because this is the way of the future, right? This is agents and everything is going to become more and more powerful. So the broader, teams should also have a understanding of these, aspects. And I think that's something, keeping it within the teams is kind of what I would advise them not to do.
Cap. Be open with it is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
As you look at what's going on in the industry, what mindset do you have when you pick the technologies and vendors that you're going to build your Gen AI capabilities with?
So I think I'll go back to what Mike kind of said in his when he was talking about the trends. AI in general, GenAI is another software. So when we look at the software vendors, we look at it from the point in time on what is that they offer, what are the things that we need, and how a particular vendor offers them. Most of the organizations are already on a particular public cloud, or they are moving towards a particular public cloud. So that particular cloud offers a whole lot of solution suite around GenAI. And obviously, there are also cross-cloud integrations that are becoming more and more easier. So it's easy for us to go and pick the other cloud provider and the services that they offer as well. So from our standpoint, the way we approach this is we have a problem at hand and we are going to see what works best for us. So we go through an evaluation similar to how we evaluate a software. Then we go and pick what works best. I think the buy versus build is another thing that Mike spoke about. I think there is a lot of things, use cases that we could build by ourselves. But again, it depends on what is the priority. Are there vendors who are offering it out of box, which happens to be much more cost effective? Then probably it makes sense for us to pick that particular product, use it for that particular use case, rather than thinking of it like reinventing everything from scratch. So it's a typical software evaluation that goes through. That's what we are doing right now. But I think there is definitely a lot in the market. I think it's going to take some time before all of this stabilizes. So I think we are in that period where there is so many companies coming in, so many things that are happening out. I think we just have to really evaluate to see what works best for an organization before jumping in on something.
Okay, appreciate that. So it's kind of a be open-minded, but also be data-driven and informed about what you're trying out. So you can kind of judge on your own merit. Mike, let's go to you. What, as crystal ball looking out, all this change, what does your crystal ball look like? How would you maybe advise people to think about it? Are there obvious winners already, or is it just too early to know? How does one figure out which horse or horses to ride?
I don't think there's going to be particular new winners because, as you hear people say, an AI model is not a business model. And if you think about, just take OpenAI, for example, what is the moat? VCs talk about a moat that they have. It's not data. I mean, I guess you could say it's data because they're getting feedback from that they say they're not using. But they don't particularly have their own access to some huge data set. For example, the way Google does, or the way XAI does, or the way Meta does. So I don't see how any company like a Cohere and Anthropic, Mistral, how any of those companies can become anything that other than a model company, right? Because they can't build the tools fast enough because there's already AI platforms that have the tools. They'd have to pay for data, which they could. So for them to succeed, they're going to have to create applications that have business value, that are useful. Now you might say, oh, well, they can sell the models to those companies, but I think that's going to zero. I mean, there is a cost of those models, but there's a very vibrant open source community. And for example, a lot of the enterprises I talk to, we started with this model, but now we're using the Llama model, which is free to use at this time. So I think there's a lot of competition in the model. So I think the vendors that are going to succeed are the vendors that already have a useful platform, a useful data platform, a useful software platform, a useful business model platform, and they're going to just add these capabilities themselves. I don't think there's going to be a new player that's going to unseat anyone.
Okay, appreciate that. Interesting as where's the value added and where's the control points, and is it the models, is it the the infrastructure, is it the tooling,
it's the data. It's the data.
Yeah, it's always the data, isn't that?
Yeah,
people hate hearing that, right? Because it's like, but wait, we knew that. Well, that brings me maybe to the last question, and I'll start with you, Ravi, but others can venture in quickly. Is what do you think is going to drive where the use cases these technologies serve? What are you, I guess, personally looking out for? What's the breakthrough in 6 months from now or a year from now we're going to be looking to read about that's going to make a difference if you see that a maturity will drive to some form of a breakthrough?
Sure, Jeff. I think that's an interesting point that you brought up. Definitely, this is an early stage of this whole AI, Gen AI, revolution, you can call it. It's a transformation of the whole understanding of how to deal with data. And earlier, it used to be ML AI. We used to think that was like almost magic for many people. But now with Gen AI, even students are using it in school, right? So it's going to create a whole new set of people who will be growing up with it. But if you look at enterprises, they're using it in some of the critical applications. And if you really take a deep look at LLMs today, they are nothing but next word prediction systems. They're essentially, they have seen a lot of patterns. They have seen a lot of, words together contextually, and they can tell you what the next word is. And there's a statistical, probability attached to that. But do they really understand what the nature of the problem is, a business problem? So do they understand and comprehend like a human would? It's not there yet, right? So there is a lot of growth to be had, and that's pushing the envelope to the next stage. So I definitely see more growth in that direction. The current crop of, Claude and Anthropic and all of those are great. Definitely they're doing a great job of, democratizing the ability for users to use them, and in some cases responsibly. But the understanding and comprehension is still to be kind of, stitched into this whole framework. And that will come through a lot of the data and experiences. Even agents, right? Agents are kind of doing some of these solutions, and you can build that through today. But the edge cases that you will not be able to automate is where the data will be, and you need to learn and bring that into the fold. So all of that is things to be done in the future. And last point also to add is there is infrastructure improvements also happening, in parallel. We are seeing a lot of push towards all the hyperscalers going after their own version of the silicon and kind of building new capabilities, and inference is going to be a key part of it because that drives a lot of the cost. So bringing all of the data models that lie on the chip and closer to the hardware is where a lot of innovation probably also needs to be unlocked. So I'll just pause there, but maybe Satish and Mike can go share their thoughts.
Okay. Well, we just have a couple minutes left. So real quick to you, Satish, what is your viewpoint on the same question?
So I think earlier we had multiple languages, C++, C to C++ to Java to Python. You need to know these languages to interact with a machine. I think what we have seen in the last 1 year is English is the language that now everyone uses. I think that by itself is a phenomenal transformation that has happened. What I see as a future is effectively, I think, the agent AI. How big agent AI is going to really evolve? What is the realistic thing that we could achieve using these agents and creating digital twins? I think is going to really define where we go. I think there is a huge potential. I think we just have to see how much we are able to achieve in the next foreseeable future.
Okay. I appreciate that. Yes, there's a lot of energy about that aspect of it in a lot of different fields. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. And then last but not least, Mike, what does your crystal ball say in terms of where things are going to look like and what the big announcement 6 months from now is going to be?
Well, 6 months from now, I was going to answer a lot later. So let me answer a lot later and then say 6 months. But the lot later, just in thinking about AGI or artificial general intelligence, right? You really need, and one of the reasons why we're even talking about that, because if you read like OpenAI's mission statement, they say it's to, evolve to AGI or even Google's DeepMind. So, but, we think there's three things needed to do that. And they're all autonomous things. So autonomous learning, right? So right now, when you train a model, a person says, okay, here's a data set and I'm training you on this, right? Autonomous learning would mean that the AI would seek out knowledge and have ways of getting data sets on its own. So it needs to learn autonomously. Second thing, it would need to be able to collaborate with other AGIs, other models, or people, right? So it would be able to have to make requests or answer requests to do the third thing, which is to actually make certain things happen, whether it's a virtual AGI or even if it's in a humanoid robot form. So it's kind of interesting to think that next stage, and it won't just happen overnight, but that it will evolve to that self-learning stage, because if an enterprise can have a model that's sort of self-learning, can collaborate and take actions, then it really has implications for what Satish just said about the agentic AI. Like, what could that actually become in terms of handling a lot of the business operations that we rely heavily on people to handle now? In 6 months, getting back to the 6 months, we're going to be talking a lot about agentic AI. Even more so than now. GenAI does not go away, but Jeff, I 100% agree with you. You made the statement earlier and you said, we've never seen stuff move this fast. This is the fastest I've seen any technology move.
Well, appreciate that. Perfect note to end on. I appreciate this conversation. It's so much richer when you have different people agreeing and disagreeing and bring different kind of viewpoints. And I think when we're especially in an industry that is as impactful and as rapidly evolving as what we are observing, these discussions are important. So I appreciate it. For more information, there's a QR code and there's a URL link. Apologize for its length, but basically if you go to impetus.com and you look for GenAI solutions, everything that you heard about today, you'll be able to find, including a recording of this session, and a lot more about viewpoints on new happenings, about new kinds of use cases and things that we're seeing. So cool place to go. Suggest you check it out. I do want to thank our guests that we had today, Mike, Satish, and Ravi. Just wonderful guests, leaders in their space, and incredible insight. So thank you very much. And, come on in. The water's great. Please check out GenAI Solutions from us, from other players in the industry. Huge potentials laying in front of us. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Jeff. That was a great discussion. Lots of information. We appreciate the time. Well, there you have it. Another expert roundtable in the books. We want to thank Impetus, Forrester Research, and Deluxe for their presentations, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.
If your business would like to be featured in a future event, contact us today.